Welcome, adventurers! You've made it to the Wind Down, the live stream at the end of the Geekverse. It's a chill place to hang out here as the sun sets on another day. We're here to have a little chat, reflect on the day's successes, and prepare for a better tomorrow. So settle in with your favorite beverage this evening.
May I tempt you with a cup of chamomile?
Why, thank you, Dory. I would love a mug of tea this evening, but perhaps you would rather have some coffee, though I do recommend a decaf this late in the evening. Or perhaps maybe a cold brew is more your style.
Oh, no thank you, Dory. A little red wine. For me, I think.
Sounds like an excellent choice, Gandalf. Whatever you want, it's yours. Could I offer you a bourbon, a martini, an old-fashioned, or something perhaps a little stronger? Ugh. Well, I mean, if that's really your thing, then okay, but I hope we can find something a bit better than that.
Romulan ale. Why, Bones, you know this is illegal.
I only use it for medicinal purposes.
All right, now we're talking. I'm Heath, and I'll be your host. Welcome to my home. Come one, come all. Writers, artists, sculptors, storytellers, board gamers, streamers, dungeon masters, fans of sci-fi, fantasy, geeks of all kinds. Whatever your fandom, you have a place here. For soon it will be time for another long rest so that we can recover our hit points, our spells, and our abilities, so we'll be ready to fight on for another day tomorrow. But first, we all need a little time to reflect. Because you've survived another long, perilous day of wilderness treks, dungeoneering, and random encounters. And that's worth celebrating. Let's tell the tale. It's time for the Wind Down. It will improve your life. It really will. Give it a chance. Here we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wind Down. You have made it to the live stream at the end of the Geekverse, and I am so glad to have you. Hey, Jay. Jay's here. Greetings. You will notice that one of the big rocks I did accomplish today was to get the office Christmas-fied. So I have got Christmas decorations up. I may make a few changes here and there, but I'm feeling festive. I think it looks great. So we are now getting into the Christmas spirit. Hey, Ryan. Good evening, Ryan. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. So, thank you, Jay. Jay says, looks good. Looks great, dude. Thank you. Thank you. This is the most decoration that I have done for Christmas in my entire adult life. Now, we did decorate for Christmas when I was a kid, but I just haven't had people over to my house for Christmas to decorate for. We always go to other people's houses. So it never made a lot of sense, for me to decorate for Christmas. It would just be for me. But now I do have people over. I have all of you. I have everyone who's joining us on the live streams. And so it makes sense to have some Christmas decorations up. And I really like it. So that is great. I want to talk about shows tonight. I was making a list of the different shows that I'm trying to make. I knew it was going to be a kind of slow day. It was a slow day. It was rainy. It was dreary. I tried to make the best of it. I didn't quite get done everything I wanted to get done. Might work a little bit after the wind down, but don't want to do it too much. Stray says, clicked around a bit, but I made it. Still foggy? Yeah, okay. Welcome. I'm glad you made it. I'm so glad you made it here. So I want to talk about the different shows here. HD. All right. Good day. So we got two options here. GD in the chat for good day. I would say it's a good day. It was a good day. I knew it was going to be a mellow and chill day. We should go ahead and breathe. You got a drink with you? Breathe. And take a sip. Very good. Very good. I hope you're happy with your day. You've got two options. Good day, GD, or WIT, WIT. We'll do better tomorrow. Or we'll improve tomorrow. But hope you had a great day. We're going to reflect on our day. If you've got questions, I will be happy to take some questions tonight. I don't know how long we're going to go because I got to reset for tomorrow. And we can talk about shows. But happy to do that. Celebrate victories. We had great victories. Please celebrate. put them in the chat. We will talk about it. If you had a random encounter or something weird happened to you today, let us know. We can talk about that. That will be great. We can also Jace, we got Ryan will improve tomorrow. Wit. That's okay. That's all right. As long as you know what the problem was and you're going to improve tomorrow, I think that's fine. Jay also says Wit, sadly. But it doesn't have to be sad as long as you recognize what's the problem is. And you're like, you know what? That's not going to happen again tomorrow. I think that's the key. So I got started late. I got a late start today because of how late the after party went yesterday. And I was saying this morning that I think that what we're going to have to do is move those earlier if we're going to be doing late night shows, especially if we want to talk about shows here in a minute. If we start doing more Friday night shows that might potentially go longer, might have to move them forward. Oh, Ryan says, less so for me, more my son. Been a sick couple of days now. Oh, no. I am sorry to hear about that. I know that when my brother reports that his kids are sick, it disrupts everything in the house. Just a fever. I still hope he gets over it very soon. And he and everybody else can return to operating at full. So anyway, I was saying that we're probably going to have to move the Friday night stuff. We're going to do more shows that could potentially go longer earlier on Friday nights, just so that it doesn't go deep into the night for me and then end up having the chain cascading effect. So I did not heed the call to adventure today. I was up late today. I didn't get all my so CTA, that's call to adventure. I did not heed that today. MBR is moved the big rocks, and I only got 2 big rocks done. I did find my action figure boxes. I've rescheduled my action figures for arrival potentially on Monday. I thought there was something weird about that delivery, but so I'm rescheduled that for Monday. I got all of my Christmas decorations, and I did do my creative time today, but I wasn't fully MBR. And then AF, I was almost AF today, but I went to have dinner at the sports bar again while I was working on core creative time for my stories. And I remembered this time to order the Coke, but there were one of the people there really wanted me to do a shot with them, and we're celebrating stuff. And so I figured that I should do that. So I had a shot with this group of people. So didn't quite make AF, but watch rings. We've got watch rings. So up here, boom, watch rings. So I got that. And if I can do a little bit more of work tonight after the wind down, if I feel like it, I'll hit my target goals as far as time goes. But that's what happened to me today. But I knew when I got up late, it was going to be a thing. Have you been thinking about anything interesting today? Has anything interesting been going on with you? If so, let me know. We'll be happy to talk about it. One thing I was thinking about today after our discussion this morning on the morning grind, which tomorrow is supposed to be, if I can remember, it's Sunday. So I kind of want to make it our potpourri day and looking at some different things that might not take the entire time. If Inner Light is here, we might look at Inner Light's material tomorrow. But I want to be sure that Inner Light's going to be here when we do that. But, I've been trying to think about how to do more shows, because that's one of the things I really want to do, is be able to produce shows. And so I was trying to think about what kind of shows have we got, and how are we supposed to do this, right? So right now we've got morning grind, and we know what the morning grind is because we're a part of it. That's early in the day. And then the evening corollary to the morning grind is the wind down, which we are here right now. So we've got those 2 shows. Oh, Jay says, it may not be very interesting, but I found a nice old Robin Hood book from my childhood. Well, that can be interesting. I was a big fan of Robin Hood. still today, but in childhood. So if you found a book that you connected with, I think that's pretty cool. Wonderful. Could bring back I hope it brings back amazing memories. Retro Nerd Girl is here. Good evening. Good evening. Good to see you. So my thinking here was that we're kind of getting the morning grind nailed down. We kind of know where we're going with the morning grind, and we kind of have the wind down, much more casual, also nailed down. Okay, we have been working on our cultists. We've been watching the Cultist season 2 and the after party, and that's what's been going on Friday nights. After party, but Retro Nerd Girl says, good day, Wit, GD Wit. So good day, but we'll improve tomorrow. So we'll make it a great day tomorrow. Because good day, but we'll improve tomorrow. We'll make it a great day. But with the Cultist season 2, like that's ending next Friday. We'll watch. I'm thinking that we'll watch the season finale, and then also we've got deleted scenes, so we can watch deleted scenes on Friday, and then also the complete blooper reel. I'm thinking I should just go ahead and put all of those 3 things out on Friday in succession, and then have the after party for that. But that means that the Cultist season 2 is wrapping up, and we're about to be at the end of that. We got to think of some new shows. We've got Dinner and a Board Game. Which I really like. And 1 season of that's already been shot. Not all of those are still up on YouTube. I think there are still 3 episodes remaining, but I'm thinking that maybe Wednesday nights, I just go ahead and start premiering the last of the season 1 episodes. They were up on YouTube before, but I took them down. I made some adjustments as I was moving things around. So I'm thinking that maybe on Wednesday nights, we need to go ahead and start premiering the rest of the Cultist, the Dinner and Board Game season 1. The first episode of season 2 was a new pilot. And I think that we need a 3rd pilot. How many shows do you know that get a 3rd pilot? Well, when it's your show, you can do as many as you want, right? So I think we're going to need a 3rd pilot here, which could premiere right after the Friday after the Cultists, because we'll need another show. And this could be even solo board gaming. Have some ideas there. So really want to do that. We need a show that is just board gaming. And I think this needs to be distinct from Dinner and a Board Game, because you could do Dinner and a Board Game without the dinner. But if you do Dinner and a Board Game without dinner, the show is just board game. And that doesn't seem right. So we got to name this show. We had some suggestions this morning, like Coffee and Campaigns or something like that. That could be just gaming. That we should do, and probably this needs to be done through streaming, because one of my problems is getting everybody to my house and doing a whole bunch of editing takes too long. That's why we've been moving slowly. We got to move faster. Going virtual, we give up a few things. Like, for instance, with Dinner and a Board Game, my thinking was that I really wanted to have the images of the cards pop up on the screen and have the show be augmented like that. I thought that was an important, not only the dinner, but I thought that was an important part of Dinner and a Board Game. But the problem with that is it takes an immense amount of time in post-production. They're very post-production intensive. It's a very post-production intensive show. And I know I spent like a month fighting with audio and graphics and things like that for the second pilot of Dinner and a Board Game where we played Hero Quest. So that can't happen again. So I got to come up with a format for that show, which is not that. So we may, if it goes live, we'd have to give that up. If it goes live, we'd have to give that up, but we'd gain so much in post-production time, as in eliminating post-production time. So everything's a trade-off. That's what I'm thinking there. And the same thing here with whatever just gaming is, that kind of show. Ryan, I see your question. I'll get to it in just a moment. You know, we did the show General Geekdom. We did 10 episodes of General Geekdom, which was my panel discussion show, right? And I'd like to return to that, but I think we can definitely improve that. We can improve that show, and I've been thinking about different ways to improve that show, but it still requires more coordination in order to improve. More organization up front. So General Geekdom, we got that. Table Talk was my one-on-one interview show. I did like 13 episodes of that. Talked to some really interesting people, had some really interesting discussions. So we got Table Talk. We want to be able to paint miniatures or do your own crafts, whether that's cosplay or whatever else. I'm just going to call it the crafting show right now. So we're trying to solve a problem where we need people to be able to block out a time, I think at least once a week. Once a week's probably good. To say this is our crafting time. You know, this is a daily show, but not all these have to be daily. Wind Down is daily. This was once a week. That'd be once a week. Once a week. General Geekdom once a week. Table Talk once a week. Or actually, that was twice a week when I was trying to do something with that. Crafting show. This could be once a week. One a week. Or we block out 90 minutes or an hour or 90 minutes to do our crafting stuff, and then we can talk, have good conversations while we're actually trying to do our stuff. But got to come up with good people to be on the panel, interesting people to be on the panel all together crafting. So we've got the crafting show coming on. We had briefly mentioned an idea about a Heath and Brianna story analysis show, where we break down movies or TV shows or something like that, like Brianna and I have been doing as we're studying story structure. So we had that idea. I kind of want to do I'm not huge into video games, but video game live stream. Sometimes people tell me I need to go play some video games like Darkest Dungeon. So, that could be a once a week thing. I've got an idea for a reality show, a geek-based reality show. Just the barest ideas. We got that something I think could be put together on a reasonable budget. Of course, I would like to be able to shoot The Cultist Season 3. That's the biggest deal as far as the production goes, because we have to organize that, and it'll take 2 weeks in order to shoot. Plus post-processing time, post-production time and pre-production time. That's a big thing if we're going to do it. What was my note over here? Oh, I got an idea for a mock live stream show with a special character in the Geekverse. And that's before you even get into Theophany or Rabavania. So I've got tons of stuff here. So this is like, what do I do with all this stuff? First of all, I've got to be more productive in order to actually produce these things. So that's why I'm thinking, we had the idea also. So another idea for a show is Independent Tonight, because I was talking about that the other day, that we need some type of independent entertainment tonight to showcase web shows or short films in the Geekverse. Independent Tonight. And it would be great if somebody else would do that, but people are like, well, gee, Heath, you should do this yourself. So that's a lot of shows, like I said, even before we get to Rabavania or Theophany. And so you can see the issue here is like, where do I put all these? Because none of them are things that I would have enough of to maintain an independent channel on, right? And so this is why I, renamed the channel to Heath's Geekverse. So I've got, I think that under the umbrella of Heath's Geekverse, a lot of these different things could potentially happen. And so, but what I've got to have in order to demonstrate the idea to people is I need to do some pilots. I need to do the new third pilot of this. I need to pilot Entertainment Tonight. I I've got examples of general geekdom at Table Talk. I need to pilot the crafting show. I need to pilot the video game stream. That one, I'm not too worried about. That's just fun. And I need to pilot this mock live stream show. So when we're talking about what's going on over the next few weeks or couple of months, well, one of the things is we're going to be trying a bunch of things. We're going to be trying a bunch of different types of shows, seeing what I can get piloted and shot, and see what attracts some kind of attention or something like that. What's done well, what we don't like, what needs to be dropped, what needs to be improved, or whatever else. Because that's a lot of stuff. But I think that could be a fantastic. That's the basis of a fantastic YouTube network, I think. So if I could come up with some way that, if all of this fits within the theme of Heath's Geekverse, could be this. So that's what I'm thinking. That's mainly what I've been thinking about today. It's like, how do I get all this done? A lot of work, but I think can be done. All right. Stray says, Mondo Minis? I don't know that. Is that reference to the crafting show? Get somebody like something to paint? Retro Nerd Girl says, I'm studying story structure too, and eventually make a movie. See, yeah, fantastic. I've been trying to think about this in terms of, we're talking about community here and growing this network, because I think that we need the network of people who are working on the independent creativity side. Because we've got on YouTube, we've got the analysis covered, and critique and all of that covered very well. What's much more difficult is the creation side of things, like creating new stuff. That's very difficult, and would be able to do that more with a network. If we had a network of people, then we would have that. I was at the bar today. I was working on the story structure for Rabavania, the first one. I think I had a fantastic meeting a couple days ago, and I plowed even further down the story structure route for the first story that would actually appear, I suppose, for Rabavania. It's slow going. That's why I feel kind of wrong-footed, because I had other stuff written for that, but it's not right. I was really hoping to be able to show, but it's not right. So it's not going to go out. It'll go out when it's ready. Got to get it right first. Jay says that sounds cool, and I forget which one that he was talking about. May have been the crafting show, but I think these are reasonable ideas. I mean, do you like these ideas? I don't know if they'll all actually capable of happening, or which ones are actually good and which ones will need to be dropped. But I've got so many different ideas of shows, because I should be writing and producing things. So I need to find some way to at least get these piloted, at least to get the idea out there to say, hey, this is the kind of idea for the show that we could do. Ryan asks, what are some of my go-to board games recently? I think I answered a similar question a couple of nights ago. Most recently, I've been playing One Night Werewolf, and I haven't gotten to play Secret Hitler again. But One Night Werewolf is faster, so I played that recently for like a quick party game kind of thing. I still consider one of my go-to games Zombicide Black Plague, because it's so accessible. It scratches the fantasy itch. I think it invokes a great feeling, and it's not so complicated that you can't have people play, or the people who aren't hardcore gamers will play. So that's still a big one. I used to play Small World all the time, but I'm just in a situation where I haven't had as many people around. But I had traditionally, I always kept Small World in my car. So if there were an opportunity to play a game, Small World would be right there. So most recently, that is probably it. I know, now see, the Reign of Cthulhu, that's an older one, but I suppose most recently, I got on a Reign of Cthulhu kick, and I've painted up all the miniatures, and I've been playing that, and then my brother took it, and he and his wife have been enjoying it. So that's most recent, I suppose. But I'm thinking about breaking out these solo things. One thing I got to think of, if I'm going to do dinner and a board game in here, or if I'm going to do some kind of live stream for a show in here, that's going to make going in there to the dungeon very difficult, because I'm not set up for live streaming in the dungeon. I am set up for live streaming right here in the office. So that means that probably that's why I'm glad that I came up with a different solution for the auxiliary camera, because this solution, although it takes a bit more time to set up, I think it's providing a better picture. And so I bet I could use this solution to show a board, and you'd actually be able to see it, and stuff. So I got to figure out what it's like to, everything. Didn't we talk about this? We talked about this quite a few times, about how the internet and computers make things so great because they're easier when things are digital and virtual, but that's how everything is going. And so that means that there's an increasing amount of stuff that happens right here at my desk. And now we're also talking about whole shows potentially being right here at my desk. Hero Quest, I could do. I have to clean off this entire area and set up the auxiliary cameras. You see the Hero Quest board, so I'd use the 3D Hero Quest board. And I want to take a look at the new app, right? So that we can play Hero Quest, potentially single player with the app. Zargon's even being put out of business by computers today, right? Even Zargon's being put out of business. Zargon has an AI taking his job. Terrible. I asked my aunt about that, because my aunt had been the one who was most recently our Zargon during Hero Quest, and I told her about the app, and I was like, now how does it feel to be losing your job to a computer system? I think she also, like when we were playing Mansions of Madness, it was the one to run the app. So that's actually pretty handy, that I found in games like that even if you have somebody who wants to be there but doesn't necessarily want to play, if you have a character controlling, or a player controlling the app, that seems to go well. Retro Nerd Girl says, all your ideas sound amazing. Your idea to test out some of these ideas first to see which one gets a better response and feels natural for you to pursue until you grow large enough to expand. Yeah, that's definitely my strategy. First of all, thank you. I'm glad that these sound like reasonable ideas. But yes, one of the problems that I've had I over the years is that I don't iterate fast enough. I've been trying, but I haven't been able to iterate fast enough, and I have to be able to do that in order to do additional experiments. So I think I've got the right idea now to be able to iterate through trying some of these different shows. So it'll still be in an experimental stage here for another couple months, but even allowing me to iterate with some of the solo stuff, because I think it's probably very unlikely that I'll be able to get a group together for dinner and a board game, or just gaming or something like that between now and Christmas. Like, first of all, I have to organize that. Organizing it takes a while. And then we're right here at the holidays. So probably not going to be able to do that. But I've got me. And so I can experiment here. And it would be good to be able to experiment with some of the technology for the live streaming stuff before I have other people down. So, yeah, right. So iterate fast. That's my thinking now. I got all these different show ideas. Try to iterate fast, prototype them, do the pilot episodes, see what works, see what doesn't, and then expand on what does. Because it would be great to be able to. We had such a great team here working. Brianna was working, Brennan was working, Carol was here working, Megan was working, but we didn't close. We weren't able to do enough fast enough. I got to turn off this heater. I'm about to burn up. Just one second. Just going over here. But we didn't iterate fast enough. I had had an idea as a potential idea when we were shooting dinner and a board game in here in the dungeon. There was software that I suppose was kind of like what we would think of as OBS now. But it was something that you could rig up multiple cameras to and do the real-time switching and things like that. I don't think it was necessarily for live streaming. But if you have multiple cameras set up and you're trying to record something, you can have somebody switching cameras and things like that in real time. That was kind of expensive to get, and we didn't have it. And we thought, well, we can just do all the camera switching in post and things like that, but it takes too long. But I think we could get a good real-time camera set up for live streaming, because I renovated this whole house for live streaming. And that just hasn't materialized yet, because I've got the the camera mounts in the kitchen for recording cooking meals. I've got the camera mounts in the dungeon ceiling and everything like that for recording the board gaming. We may want to do some more shooting in what I call the tavern hall, and I can put camera mounts in there. It's my house, so I don't care if I drill camera mounts into the ceiling or the wall or something like that. I have that advantage. I was talking to, I believe it was Carol. It was like, as I was installing the camera mounts on the ceiling in the kitchen, and I was like, now see, this is the kind of stuff that your mom will never let you do, right? Like, mom, I've got this great idea. I'm going to shoot this show, and I need to mount this camera on the ceiling. I'm just going to screw in these camera mounts to the ceiling of the kitchen. And your mom's like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, no, Mom, please. I need to put the camera mounts in the ceiling. This is going to be cool. It'll be really cool. And your mom's like, well, I guess we'll just have to be uncool then. And you're like, oh, God, gee, when I have my own house, I'm going to put cameras in the ceiling. Okay, well, I have my own house now, so I can put cameras in the ceiling. Or wherever else I want them in order to be able to do a show. Now, hardline connections to the internet, also something I've got to deal with. And I don't have fantastic internet. But Keith asks, I haven't tried the app yet. A person shared a Facebook group that the AI seems to prioritize attacking certain characters. Interesting. I haven't tried it yet either. I need to. I should have just looked at it by now, but everything stacks up. That seems like something maybe we should do on the morning grind, is take a look at the Hero Quest app and how it works and how that actually integrates into play. I would need to investigate that anyway before trying to use it on air. And that means I'm also going to have to get into a lot of these different things, a lot of these games more anyway, to learn how to play them, because I want to play them before I even go on air. So that will take additional time. Now, of course, with Dinner and a Board Game, another thing that I really wanted to do with Dinner and a Board Game, and I thought was an important part of that show, was that we were always using some kind of upgraded version of the game, and that was painted and things like that. Some games we didn't have that, like with Unearthed, there wasn't a whole lot to paint or something like that. So we didn't always have that. But when we're doing something like Hero Quest, we put a lot of time into the construction of the game. And I still like to be able to carry that over in Dinner and a Board Game. But that is a place where the crafting corner could also help me get the other shows up. Because if we have the crafting show, well, one of the things I could possibly need to work on, and probably would need to work on, is painting up miniatures and things like that for the use during Dinner and a Board Game. Jay says, not while you live in my house. I got that a lot. Yeah, I got that a lot too. So, all right. I've been cleaning off a lot of this over here, so I'll be able to show it again, putting up action figures. I still have got to fix my action figure problems, because I've got to put them on the bases, because I still have a problem with action figures that they're falling all over the place. I don't like them to fall over. So one crafting day, action figures get permanently affixed to bases so that every little bump of the house doesn't send them falling off the bookshelf. Retro Nerd Girl is laughing. Yeah. About, I think, the house situation with the mom. I wouldn't mind, like, eventually, like, you see people doing, like, these content houses where everybody gets together and you're like, hey, we're going to live stream for 24 hours and everybody does their shows and stuff like that from house. I wouldn't mind doing that from here. But first of all, I wouldn't actually be able to have that many people here because I've got a small house. It's perfectly good for me because I spend most of my time sitting right here in the office anyway, right here in this desk. So, do I need a larger house? No. On the other hand, that means I can't have a lot of people over at the same time. I only have one bathroom. I'm thinking about down the road that if I need to do a more extensive renovation, adding another bathroom to the house would really help with having people over. But that will take more work in order to make happen. But it would be neat to go someplace or something like that, maybe in the tabletop space and have a content house. But then you got to take all of your gear and stuff like that for live streaming to a new location. So we'll just see. Now see, this is a problem. You've got the 6-inch action figures or the 1/6 scale. As far as I know, I don't have anything here that is the 1/6 scale. Those are the really nice big ones, right? So most of the action figures that I've got are the 6-inch. Now the classic He-Man are a little bit smaller than that. Like this is well, this is a custom I did, but that's Wundar made out of He-Man. So that I think they're 5.5 inches tall. That classic line, but that's different from like this is Ultimate Skeletor, which I do like. Man, he is good. So he's taller, but I don't think. It's terrible. I don't know that. That's not actually the 1/6 scale. I think I've seen emails come by from the Big Bad Toy Store that are saying that, hey, here are the 1/6 scale guys. Am I wrong about this? But I think I see those and I go, oh wow, those look really nice. But I haven't been able to justify getting any yet. See, it takes me. I can get them stand back up. We'll have to figure out how to get them stand back up. They got me with the action figures. There, see, you can stick it in here. There. But I want to permanently attach them to that. They got me with the new He-Man action figures. They're the 5.5. So when I saw them in the store, I was like, oh wow, they're coming back. I got to get them. And so I got He-Man and Evelyn, Evelyn, Tila, Skeletor, whatever the main 5 were. And I was like, oh, that was also when I was designing the Tales of Rabavania action figures. And I was like, I need to break these down. I need to understand how they go together and are modular and can create new kinds of characters. And so that's why I bought and have as part of the Christmas giveaway multiple He-Man and Skeletor, because I was like, you know what, I could actually make some other figures with this. So I bought multiples, like on a craft day, to be able to make some custom action figures. And I did make my custom Wundar. And his sword is over here. See, I'm going to glue his sword in his hand. But there's his custom power sword. So I was able to do that. But I hadn't been able, that guy, but I wasn't able to do a lot more customs. Just time and whatever else. And then, of course, they completed the whole line. And then they got like He-Man action figures coming out for all of them. And I was like, oh, so I don't even have to make other custom characters because they're just selling them. I think that what first alerted me to that was I got the original Evelyn. And I was like, oh, I remember Evelyn from childhood. And I had Evelyn. But I was always upset as a child. I was like, she's not colored like she is in the cartoon. And that was a big problem to me. And then I don't know where I bought this, but I guess I must have seen this, that they did a recolor of the Evelyn action figure. And I was like, oh my God, I have to have it. It's Evelyn actually in the correct colors. Of course, at the time as a kid, I didn't understand that the action figures actually came first. And then the Filmation cartoon was something that was the next thing, and they changed up the look here. I didn't understand that, but they put out some really cool stuff as far as the action figures and redid Evelyn. And I was like, so that was actually kind of the start of, I might need to collect these. I don't have a big collection, but I do like that Evelyn with in the Filmation coloring. Cool. Motu, yeah. Jay asks, have I read Brandon Sanderson's books? I have not. I know nothing about the Brandon Sanderson books. Do not know them at all. Probably something I should definitely look into, but I do not. On the subject of Evil Lyn, though, I was like, oh, I got to have that Evil Lyn. And then later I looked. And they made this Evil Lyn. I mean, this is a freaking cool Evil Lyn. Because, I mean, that looks like this. I believe this was like from the Club Grayskull series or something like that. And so this Evil Lyn, I love this action figure. This is such a great Evil Lyn. And she came with great accessories too. But they keep falling out when she falls down. So I'm going to put her on a stand as well. This is a great Evil Lyn. I love this Evil Lyn. When you've got Evil Lyn and Ultimate Skeletor, see, they belong beside each other. I mean, that is a fantastic, pairing of action figures. Ultimate Skeletor and Evil Lyn. That's cool. And let's see, one other action figure I'll show you is right over here. They made the Green Goddess, the Eternian Goddess. Because I was thinking this is another custom that I needed to do, because I've got Wundar over there, and it just seems natural that the Green Goddess or the Eternian Goddess needs to be next to him. And so I had an extra Tila figure, and I was like, I should just, like I repainted that He-Man to be Wundar, I need to repaint a Tila to be the Green Goddess. Well, of course, what did they do? They made one. So I've got that. I still think she needs to be repainted, because I really don't think her paint job is all that great, and it's a little bit weird anyway. So that's another thing to be done on the crafting corner, is to turn this one into, or to repaint this one, and then Green Goddess has got to go sit by Wundar the Savage He-Man. They need to be standing next to each other. So I didn't go all in. There's a lot but I picked up some of the new He-Man releases, because that was such a big part of my childhood. And when they were coming back, I was like, I'm gonna have to do it. Retro Nerd Girl says, I'm a big fan of the classic Motu, so it's awesome to see your collection. Cool. Yeah, that's it's the classic for me. The 2000X I did watch some of, and I thought that was kind of cool, but I didn't get into it all the way. I wasn't even aware of it really when it was being released. But man, I watched the original He-Man all the time. Oh no, Jay says, not exactly sure why, but I've always associated Motu with fever dreams. It may be because I only got to watch TV when I was sick as a kid. Oh no. I do remember watching TV like when I was sick down in the den, not going to school and stuff like that. But we got to watch. Of course, I had He-Man on VHS. We did get to watch it in other times too. I would sit there and draw or whatever, and we watched a lot of it. There were. I was going to do action figure projects, and that's why I was like, because I'm making my action figures, and the original He-Man action figure line is a big part of the inspiration for why I wanted Tales of Rabavania action figure line, because the He-Man action figures were such a major part of my influence. You're getting sympathy from Retro Nerd Girl, Jay. Were such a big part of my childhood. I would like to be able to replicate that with the Tales of Rabavania action figures, at least potentially. So that's why I bought the collection, a fair number of the collection, and I was able to get some of the characters that I never had as a kid. I think on another live stream, I've got, you can barely see up there, right there, that's Prince Adam on the Sky Sled. I never had a Sky Sled as a kid. But now I do. They re-released the Sky Sled, and I was like, I have to have that because a friend of mine. It's not on the battle. It's not on the battle ram, but there was a friend who had one, and I was so jealous of that as a kid. When I was over at his house, I could play with it, but I never had one. So when that box set came out, I got that. So now I have a Sky Sled. I always like having the general good guys and bad guys, just for the soldiers and stuff. But I never really had that as a kid. I'm not even sure what they made, but they did make the General Eternian Palace Guards. And I really think that all of this needs a wash, and a repaint here would be fantastic because he's got so much detail in the armor and the greaves and things like that could be brought out. So, again, not a huge project, an hour or an hour and a half or something like that during like crafting time could really upgrade this character in a major way. It's just dedicating the time to it, which maybe that show would allow us to do. But I thought that was really cool that they released the General Palace Guard, because I like to see big battles and things like that. So you need Palace Guard. And also up here, I had been thinking, am I going to have to make this? Like if I were thinking about what kinds of stuff, and I was still thinking about trying to run a crafting channel. I was like, one of the things that I would really like to do is to have Skeletor's robots. But then I found out that they actually I missed all of this when was first being released. But they actually have Skeletor's robots, and they're marketed as evil robot goons. And I love that. That, like, if you're talking to a kid, hey kid, would you like some evil robot goons? Well, of course I would. Who doesn't want evil robot goons? So here they are, right? So I want to create a little bit broader base for them. But He-Man smashed up tons of these, right? And so I never had them. I don't think they made them like as part of that. But then I was like, oh my God, I think this was part of the Classics collection, that they actually have the Robot Knights. He-Man does call them Robot Knights in one of the classic episodes. So if you put, and I don't have the whole diorama, but you put that Ultimate Skeletor next to that Filmation Evil Lyn, and then you surround them with these Robot Knights, man, they look good. They look good. Definitely invoking the feel, which that I'm big on, of He-Man, I think. You do need to broaden the base so they don't jump off. Yep. Jay says, it's really cool that Mattel made the Classics line in similar scale as the original, so you can put them together in the same display. Yeah, I've got, I've got General He-Man. Well, someplace. I need a basic He-Man to go over here. So this one right here, that's just your basic He-Man 5.5 release that's been re-released, right? Here he is. So I need to put him over here because I meant to have I need to reorganize. I meant to have all of my He-Man up there. So this is the kind of classic He-Man. This is the He-Man from the Classics collection. So he is a little bit larger. I'm trying to put their feet together. So this right here is the Classics He-Man. And this right here is, like, they called it the Classics line. Like, I think the line that was actually called Classics, I think this one is it. And I forget at the moment what this line was called. It wasn't the retro. There were a few different lines. They went crazy. I wasn't familiar. I didn't know what was going on when it was all coming out. That's why I just picked up some of the ones I really wanted in retrospect. But this is Classics He-Man. And I do think that looks good. I might even do some repainting on that sometime. But that's Classics He-Man, and then this is the re-released. It re-released, but newly articulated. Boy, I'm really getting into it here. They say retro play, but modern articulation, because I didn't really remember. I don't have my original figures anymore. I didn't really remember what type of articulation that they had, but apparently we are much more expecting more highly articulated figures today, because there was a line that was released. It may have been called the retro line or something like that. Here's one of them. Before I found out about the classics line, like I said, I was way behind on all of these. They released something like that was called like the retro line. So this is like the retro line Skeletor. And I went, oh, cool. That's what I need to collect. Like, I want to collect this one because they look like a bit more Filmation styling. It's kind of a really neat hybrid line because it's got the look and bulk of the not classic line, but your traditional figures right here that are 5.5 inch. And then, well, Jay, I'm getting them mixed up too. Jay says, yeah, because I'll say classic but means something else. There was a classics line, like officially named classics line, and I'm forgetting what this line was. So I get them mixed up too, and then I'll say classic or something like that. This one might be from the retro line, but I was like, oh my god, these are really cool. Oh, and Retro Nerd Girl says, sweet, yes, I got the robots. I had to get those because I wanted them so bad as a kid, so I had to get them. But I thought this was a fantastic line because it's got the look of the 5.5 inch traditional figures, but they've got all the coloration and sort of the styling of the Filmation cartoon. But I don't know why they did this, but look at the articulation of this Skeletor. It's kind of non-existent, but this must have been the kind of articulation that they originally had. Like there's no knee articulation, there's no foot articulation, there's no elbow articulation or hand articulation. And this action figure, its legs will pivot at the pelvis here, and you can turn it, and then his arm will move up and down, and his head will turn side to side. But that's not a lot of articulation. This one has modern articulation in it. Knees, ankles, shoulder, elbow, wrist. I mean, he's fully articulated. So if they had made this line right here articulated fully, I think this might be my favorite line. But I didn't actually end up buying very many of this line at all after I realized that. I did the unboxing and I was like, oh, this looks so cool, except for it has the 1980s articulation, which makes it less cool to me. So I stopped getting these. And then I think I found the actual official classics line. And that one is a different size. They're slightly larger. But I think they did a good job with the classics line. And then there's some other line too, right? Well, there was Club Grayskull, which was the Filmation. Now, I have a feeling that had I known that was going on when it was going on, I probably would have subscribed to that. But I didn't know. I was kind of out of the whole toy and game universe when that was going on. But the Club Grayskull ones that have Ultimate He-Man and Ultimate Skeletor. Because this is Ultimate He-Man. And I believe that's from the Filmation Ultimate line. And the weird thing about this one is that He-Man has this gigantic shield. You know, ordinarily He-Man's shield is much smaller than that. But this line came with a very Viking-looking size shield, which I do think is cool because it's not like He-Man wears a lot of armor or anything. And so He-Man's primary defense would have to be, a shield, or could be a shield. And so I think that's neat. It's a very different kind of look. But man, when you take off the shield, that does look like the Filmation character. So that line I really liked. And then this is the one from Revelation, but it's not called that. What is this line called? This line is called Masterverse, right? This is the Masterverse line. And regardless of what you actually think about the He-Man Revelation cartoon itself, this was right when I was working on the design of my action figures. And so being this was the newest release, I was like, I've got to get this. And I got two of these actually, because I've got this one just to have as part of the collection, but then I've got another one that I completely tore apart in the workshop and tore apart to its fundamental pieces to figure out how all of its articulation worked and how its kneecap worked. Because, like I said, regardless of your opinion on the TV show, the action figures are really high quality and have tons of articulation. The critique people have of them is that as their heads, they've got a really weird look on the head that, yeah, I think that He-Man's head is too small. And I think actually a substitute head looks better on them. But otherwise, I like the Masterverse look. And I did completely break these things down in the workshop, taking them apart joint by joint to figure out how the action figure with modern styling actually works. So this was a big influence now on my thinking for the action figures I've been doing. Now, Adrian took that even further, but I was like, what's possible? What are people doing in action figures right now? So that's why I have got this guy. But I got to get these things. Some people will probably freak out if I start permanently attaching bases to them, but they just fall over if you're not fall over too easily to me, and I don't like that. The action figures either have to be displayed or put away. For a long time, I've just had a mass of action figures sitting over there in a pile that I've been trying to get rid of because they just fall over, and then they got stuck in a pile, and I don't like that. They either need to be on bases and be on display in a cool way, or they're going to be put away. And I'd rather not put them away. So that's going to happen soon. Hi, Sam. I see you. Welcome to the wind down. Well, what else is there to talk about? We've been going for about an hour. Let's see, what time is it? I really need to do a little bit more work trying to clip some stuff. I think that once we get some more clips of what we're doing out, people will start to notice on YouTube. Thank you very much, Sam. Thank you. Good to see you. Retro Nerd Girl says you can use sticky tack to keep them in place. Well, that's one option. Yeah, that is one option. So I've got because some people, if it's a really expensive one, you do hate to permanently attach it to a base. I'm not sure that I care because they're display pieces of mine. They're part of my collection. So getting them the way I want them, but I do understand that. But these bases have the loops for the feet, but even these don't really keep them in place. It's easy to come out of that. So it doesn't really help them. I was hoping that was going to be a great solution, but what I'm going to have to do, I think, for some of the ones that are the inexpensive ones like this, I think they just need to be permanently attached to a base. Perhaps with a screw that goes through the base here, but these also need to be primed and painted because these need to be little scenic stands. I'm used to scenic stands for miniatures for board gaming. These also need to be scenic stands rather than just the purple stand or something like that. So they need to be primed. If an action figure is going to be glued to the base, that's what I've been trying to think about. Well, you don't want to glue the action figure to paint. You want that to be fixed. So maybe the thing to do is to affix them to the base first, and then just hand prime the bases. Maybe that doesn't take too long, because then you don't want to spray prime them once your figure's already attached, because then you'll get primer all over the figure. But also I was wondering, on some of these, do I even need to remove the loops for the feet? Because if you're going to be permanently attaching it to the base, why have the loops for the feet? Just attach it, get rid of it, cut off the loops, use some putty to fill in any holes, and then just have them permanently attached to the base that's nice and scenic or something like that. So that's another reason why this project hasn't gotten done, because there's so many different options because it seems like if it's permanently attached to the base, then don't put them in the silly looking feet loops. But this is a problem I gotta solve. It's gone unsolved for a long time. Keith says there are action figure holders. They have something like a clear ring that goes around the figure's waists. Yes, they have that too, right? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That grabs them like here. Grabs them here. And that would be another option. Maybe I should evaluate that option more. I was wondering if the Tales of Rabavania action figures actually needed to come with something like that too. I discussed that with the manufacturer for a little while. But thankfully, actually one of the advantages that the Rabavania action figures have as far as basing and stuff goes is that they, in order to fix this problem, because I was thinking about this one, that they have big, basey rabbit feet. So it's really easy. These are the unarticulated ones. But I guess we'll evaluate once the articulated ones come in, the articulated prototypes come in. But it's real easy to get these guys to stand up because they've got big, basey feet. And you're not like trying to balance them on like Evil Lynn and Tila have such small feet that they fall over. But that is an advantage of these. So I might not need the bases, but I'm thinking about it. I've got to base those anyway. I want to base all of my prototypes on a big round base because even though they're big and basey, man, they are so fragile because they're made out of that resin 3D printed, which means they are so brittle and fragile. So when they fall, and I had one fall, they shatter. Keith says, yep, that's the one I'm thinking of. I think they're inexpensive. Maybe I should evaluate that option. I do kind of want to make the scenic bases for them, but they may even have the scenic bases. You know, put a scenic base on the one that flips them around the waist. Retro Nerd Girl says, I'm thinking about creating a wire stand for my collection. Yeah, I think that's necessary. Some kind of stand like this. Jay said it out. I'm about to head out too, Jay. I've got a few more things to do, and I want to be able to start early in the morning. So Jay's headed out. No problem. I think it's about time for us to wind down. I have really enjoyed talking about the action figures with everybody. I think it's a fun topic, and I've got some I want to improve. So there'll be action figure things going on. I think that now falls under the umbrella of Geekverse. So I did unboxings of a bunch of these. So maybe eventually those will get posted. All right, everybody, it has been fantastic. We will see what transpires tomorrow during the morning grind. But in the meantime, I'm going to leave you with Goodnight Sword, my take on Goodnight Moon, set in the Tales of Rabavania.
Goodnight Sword, written by E.H. Robinson,
and
illustrated by Adam M. Bach,
read by Brianna De Silva,
narrated by Brianna De Silva.
I will see everybody on Discord. Oh, I should
Part
put a Discord link.
Tales of
I'll put a Discord
Rabavania.
link if you're here. I'll put that in the chat. See you on Discord and tomorrow morning.
Goodnight Sword, Goodnight Gourd, Goodnight Guards who keep us all safe, Goodnight Dagger, and the Iron Hauberk, Goodnight Cheese, Goodnight Keys, Goodnight Elm, and Goodnight Helm. Goodnight Squire, and Goodnight Liar. Good night, shield. And good night to the lance only the gallant wield. Good night, banner. And good night, jewel. Good night, gruel. Good night, knights. And good night to the old soldier who says time's been cruel. Good night, maiden fair, whose favor I bear. Good night, rabbits everywhere.